Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on the Succah Daf Chaf, we will begin on Yud Tes Amud Beis in the middle of the Amud by the Mishnah. Machselas, regarding using a mat for your schach. Kanim, if it's made out of reeds, it depends. Gedola, if it's very big, and as Rashi says, kanim in general is kasha ve'ein noichel mishkav. It's not typically used and it's not enjoyable to lie down on. So also a shchiva, if it was made for lying down on specifically for that purpose, then it kabels tumah made a. As we saw, you cannot use something which is makabel tumah for schach, and therefore if it was specifically designated for shchiva, you can't use it. However, l'sichach, if you specifically use this by saying I want this for schach, then misachim bo. Then the kabel tumah, because it's not makabel tumah, it's not a problem. Of course, the Gemara is going to wonder, what about a case of stam? You didn't have a kavanah for mishkav or for schach. The Gemara is going to discuss that. And then we have Rabbi Elazar's opinion. Rabbi Elazar Omer achas katan and achas gedayla, whether the mat is big or small, also shchiva makabel tumah v'en misachim bo. L'sichach misachim bo v'en makabel tumah. So again, according to the Tanakama, they feel that this is specifically by a machselas gedoyla we make this distinction. However, according to Rabbi Elazar, it doesn't matter if it's a small or big. Even a small one, it's totally on your kavanah. So as we mentioned, hagufa kasha, we have a direct contradiction in the Mishnah itself. Amrit aslu shchiva mekabel tumah v'sachim bo. It says that the reason why you can't use this mat is dafka in a situation where you made it l'shchiva. You said this is for me lying down. Now time deals l'shchiva, l'stam l'sicha. Let's say a person just didn't have any kavana either way, so we'll say it's l'stama, it's for schach. V'hader tani, then right afterwards the Mishnah says l'sichach l'sach levin v'kabel tumah. Time deals l'shchicha, l'stam l'shchiva. So again, the question is, what's the deal when it comes to stam? Is it something that can be used for schach or not? Is it mekabel tumah or not? Holokasha. So we can understand the Tanakama, kan begedoyla, kan bekatana. It depends on the size of the mat. The Reisha of our Mishnah is talking about that it's a large mat. And a large mat is typically not used for shchiva, and therefore only when you specifically designated it for shchiva is it a problem. Stam, it's not an issue. But katana, according to the Tanakama, will say the only time it will be allowed to be used is dafka if you designate it for schach. Bishlam Rabbanu Kashel, Rabbi Elazar Kashel Nan. Rabbi Elazar Amar Achas Katana Achas Gedaylu Asal Shchiva Mekabel Tum Ben Mesachim. Again, according to Rabbi Elazar, it's problematic for sure. The Tanakama doesn't make any distinction in our Mishnah between a large and a small mat, so we could say that's the distinction. However, when it comes to the Shita of Rabbi Elazar, he specifically says that there is no difference between a big or small mat, and therefore the stira will go back on him. Also, Shchiva Kabel Temen Mesachim Ba. Time it also L'Shchiva. Hastam L'Sicha. Ema Seifa, but at the end it says, Also L'Sicha Mesachim Ba Vin Mekabel Stoma. Time the Also L'Sicha Hastam L'Shchiva. So how do we explain this? There's no way you can say that the difference is between a gadol and a katan, because according to Belezi says there's no difference. El Omer Rabba. Rav explains our Mishnah in the following way. Big gedoyla, if we're dealing with a large mat, when it comes to, certainly if you designated it for schach, it's not a problem. But even stam, because it's large and it's hard, it's not something a person typically relies on, so therefore it's for schach. Ki pligi, the only time the Tanakam and Rabbi Elazar argue is the Katana. Tanakama savar stam katana l'shchiva. According to the Tanakama, a stam is l'shchiva, so which means that the Tanakama are more strict. Elazar savar stam katana now l'sicha. Not only when it comes to a big mat, but also a small mat, stam is also for schach. So that's how we're going to read it. Again, when it comes to a large mat, everyone holds that stam is for schach. The machlokas is, do we also say that by a small one or not? as we continue to Chaf Amud Aleph. V'haki kamer. Machsel sakanim, this is how you read the Mishnah. A large mat, Gedoyla, Asal Shchiva, Mekabel Stamid Masachin Ba. Taimid Asal Shchiva. Dafka, says the Tanakama, when it comes to a big mat, the whole issue is only when it was specifically designated to lie down. It's a nasakami. It's just like you actually designated it for schach, even though it was just stam, because the large one, everyone holds it's okay. Katana, some people don't say the parentheses, Katana asal sicha, Sachma, Tamdi asal sicha, Chastama nasakami, Asal Shchiva, Mim Sachma. Yasser Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Lezer comes and says, Achas Katana v'achas Kedoyl. Stamik Sheiro Sicha. According to him, no, even when it comes to a small one, even Stam is Kosh for Schach. So there's a problem with this teretz. Why does he first mention the din of Katana, which is the more difficult one, and the Gedoyla is more simple? The language should be not only by a Gedoyla, which everyone agrees, but even by a Katana. The fact that it's written the other way around, it's almost mashma like the machlokus is by Katana, but not by Gedoyla. The machlokus is by Katana. The machlokus is by Gedoyla, not by Katana. So it's a problem, because we're saying that by Gedoyla everyone holds Stam is l'sichach. But then the language of Rabbi Lezer should have been reversed. Ach Gedoyla v'achas Katana meboyla. But furthermore, Ki pligi, b'gedoyla hu de pligi. Don't tell me that when it comes to a big mat, they all agree that stam is for schach. No, they argue when it comes to a big mat. Rabbi Lezer chumra, and actually Rabbi Lezer is more strict. Don't say that Rabbi Lezer is more lenient. Rabbi Lezer is more strict. Disanya, as we learned elsewhere in the Brisa, machsel sakanim. When it comes to these mats, big gedoyla, if it's big, then misachin ba. You can use it for schach. If it's not mekabel tuma, then you can use it for schach. So what do we see? Clearly, based on this brisa, they're arguing when it comes to a big mat. So don't tell me the gedoyla komil pligi. They do argue the farish. El Omer Papa reverse it. The katana kolyamul pligi the samashtiva. Small mat, which is usually used for lying down. So therefore, stam is l'shchiva, and therefore it will not work. Not only if you designate a small mat for lying down, certainly you can't use it for schach, but even stam, we say that everyone will hold it's l'shchiva. Ki pligi b'doyla, and therefore now we could the language of our Mishnah makes more sense. Tanakama saver stam gedoyla sichach. A big one, if it's stam, it's for schach. The person doesn't lie down on it. Rabbi Lezer, who said is strict, and therefore that's what the machlokus is, b'gedoyla. That is the maskana. So when it comes to a katana, everyone holds that even the stam is for shchiva. The machlokus is when it comes to gedoyla. So my asal shchiva, the kaimer hakikamer, stam asiyasa, making it stam, nami l'shchiva adi of l'sichach. You mamish have to make it for stam. Tarava. Machselas, when you have a mat, which is made of these different things, shel shifa, Rashi says poil, some soft material, shel gemi. Again, Rashi says the hein rakin, it's soft. Hilchach stam katani ishben l'shchiva. Since it's soft, it's something which a person, when it's smaller, they'll enjoy lying down on it, which of course makes it mekabel tuma, which means it cannot be used for schach. So gedoyla, but if it's big, Mesachin ba, katana ein mesachin ba, because it's again something which is soft. Shel kanim is shel chilas, which we said these materials are something which is a little bit more harder material. Gedoyla mesachin ba. If it's big, as we said by sheep and gemi, again you could use it. Aruga, once it's spun and woven, ein mesachin ba. At that point already, you cannot use it, because that already takes upon itself the din that it's going to be for shchiva. Says Rashi, the stama shchiva, the only how you regil the orga, we don't typically weave things. El shchiva shdei cholka v'neicha, so it becomes softer. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Mishum Aviv, he said his name from his father, Achazu B'Achazu, Mesachin Bo. Says, no, in both situations you can use a schach. V'chein hay Rab Dosi Oimer Kidvaro. So did Rab Dosa say, like his words. So this is mashma that Rab Dosa holds that you can use these mats for schach. So we're going to see soon how could he say that these mats are l'shchiva. Tanan Hasan. That's going to be a question we'll see later on. Tanan Hasan. Kol ha'choil tzais. All of these, again, types of mats are metamin tummy makes. Choltzos, Rashi says, will come in Mafarsh Maihi. We'll see what it is, but it is considered to be a kli. It's makabel tuma, and therefore it's makabel. It's potentially can become tumas mace. Divrei Doisa. Fine. Medras. He holds that it can become tumas medras by actually like lying down or stepping on it. So medras in tummy mace low, but it's not kol matami medras. Anytime you find something that's matami medras, matami tummy mace, it can also become tummy mace. So ema af medras. You're right. When he says medras, it means also medras, which means everyone holds that this thing, which we'll discuss what it is soon, is tamei mace. And the question is it also matami tumas medras? So now the Gemara asks the question. My cholzos. So Amr Abdimi Bar Hamdairi Marzuvli. It's Marzuvli. My Marzuvli. What is that? So Amr Rabbi Abba Mizavli. It's a special type of bag that hunters use, but they could also use it as a form of a pillow. And since they could use it for that, therefore, as Rashi says, so it makes sense that it's a kli. Shimon ben Lakish Oimer Machselos Mamash. Rish Lakish says, no, we're actually talking about mats. Yozer Rish Lakish Tamei Yom Rish Lakish Harini Kaparis Rabbi Chia Vana Shebedchila originally Kish Nishtakha Torah Yisrael and Torah was forgotten. Ol Ezra Babel Yista. All of Ezra went up in the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, and he reestablished Torah, so it wasn't forgotten. Chazman Nishtakha, Torah became forgotten. Then Ol Hillel Hababli Vyasta. Hillel Hababli came, as Rashi says. Shemiyoyim Shigol Yechenya, from the day that Yechenya was exiled, Hichrish, everything was plowed. V'hisker Imoy Haisi Yeshiva Matsuyi Bebavel. There was at least the yeshiva in Babel, and Hillel therefore was able to restore Torah. Chazan Ishtacha, Ol Rabbi Chia Vanav Yisayda. So Rabbi Chia and his children reestablished. L'chein Amar Rabbi Chia Vanav L'nechlu, and that's the reason why I bring this down, because Rabbi Chia, he says, L'nechlu Rabbi Doisel Chamim Al Machsel Shel Usha. When it comes to the mats that are made of this particular location of Usha, as we continue to Chafam Bebeis, no one argues. Shehin Tameos. So Rashi says when these mats are tamei, means not only they're tamei mace, but they're also tamei medras. Why? Because it's designated for lying down. Tash v'shachar, not any other purpose. So therefore, in that location, that's what this was for. V'shel Tveria shein taharos. However, in Tveria, they were more hard material, and a person did not lie on them, therefore was tahar. Other places is where they argue. Since people typically don't sit on them, it's like Tveria, and therefore they're tahar tomas medras. Some people do happen to sit on it, and therefore it is tameh. Omar Kol hacholzos metamin tamei mace divrei Doisa. So he said that all these different cholzos, which are again either a pillow for a hunter or machselos mamish, are tamei mace. But as we said before, Rab Doisa hold like his words. What does that mean? So as we said, it's mashma of dosa holds that you can use these mats for skach. So how could he say that there is it's considered, which is tummy tumas mace? Obviously, it's the makabel tuma. So kasha had isle gadanfa had leisme gadanfa. It depends if this choltais mat has a rim, has an edge to it. If it has a rim or an edge to it, then in that situation we're going to say that it is considered to be makabel tuma. However, if it's just flat, so then it's not an issue. Rashi says, "Ke'in shafa sabid gavoya ma'at." It goes around a little bit, like this little edge, this little ledge. L'kabel ma'shenaisin behu v'asul tashmish lasis peros al gaba, and they put fruits on it. Okay, meisvei. Before we continue, we're going to hear this answer more than once. Let's take a question 1. Kol choyltos mit tummy mace. These mats are tummy mace, but how do we explain Rav Daisa moira the mesachin b'machsalis? How could he say you can use these mats? L'chayra they're makabel tuma. So he said when it's tamei and you can't use it, it's only if it has a rim. Safek gavoy l'kibo. Mesachin b'choltos she'ein bahen gadanfa. If it doesn't have this rim, so it's just flat, and then it's okay. All these different types of soft materials, so he holds that these mats are tamei mace, which obviously means you can't use them for skach. Not only is it tamei mace, but it's also tumas medus. Marzuvli, the one who said that it was a pillow for shepherds, Shosham Gemi, with a soft material, it has other utilities, Lekinsa and Peri, to be able to put some fruit into it. As Rashi says, Peris Gasin, big fruits, She'in Yoitzin Derech Nekav Katan, that won't go through a small hole. Shel Sakma Shel Sphira, Chazo Gulki with Sunny. This is something, it is good for even smaller fruits that they won't go through. So it does have utility. Therefore it's like a clean, therefore it's a problem. They're just mats. It has some utility that it could be used as like a curtain or as a sifter. There's actually one of the last picture in this book in the Parashai. You can see that sifter is how you can use this mat. You can kind of just like put flour through it, and through those holes you'll be able to use it as a sifter. So it has a utility of a kli, and that's why it's a makabel tuma. What can you use that a mat for, which is made out of that? And it still has utility. Chazu l'niziyasa. It could be still used to cover the beer for brewing. Says Rashi, l'chasois v'hen gigis she'ois ben shecher, to cover up these barrels that we use for beer. So because of that, it's considered to be a kli enough to be makabel tuma. I can understand regular mats, shel shamash shel gemi chazu linziasa, as we said, it's a covering for the beer. Shel safa shel spira chazu farsi v'nafasa. It's fit for curtains and for the sifter. Elamad yamar marzuvli, this pillow that's used for a shepherd. Bishlam shel sak v'shel spira chazu gulki v'tzani. You can put small things into it. El shel sham shel gummy, where the holes are bigger. My chazu lekinsa the peri. You can still put big fruits in there, and therefore again it has another utility. Tanya Mermechananya Keshirati Lugoyla, when I went down to Goyla, I found this old gentleman. He says that a person can use, Rashi says, machselos. You can use mats as skach. However, Abba hoidel devar. He actually agreed to that statement. As we mentioned before, it cannot have this rim. So Amar Ula Hani Bodyasa, this mat, the B'nai Mechuza, Il Moli Kir, Shulahen Mesachim. If it wasn't for the fact that it has a rim, then you'd be able to use it. However, Be'im Yesh Behen Kir, in Mesachim. If it has a rim around it, then one is not able to use it as Schach. Hadanallah Sukkah, Hadanallah Sukkah, Hadanallah Sukkah. We just completed the first and longest parak in this Masechta. We're now going to continue with the second parak. Hayoshin Tachas Hamit B'Sukkah. Someone who sleeps under a bed in a sukkah. So the question, as we saw already, that l'chayra, that's not acceptable, and lo yatzei chavaso, because not that the sukkah is possible, the sukkah is fine, but now you are sleeping underneath a bed in which you have the schach and then you have this other ohel, and that's not acceptable. Rabbi Yehuda, who said before that an oil, a rye cannot be mevatel on a keva, etc., so he doesn't agree to this. He holds you could sleep under a bed, and that's why he says, Rabbi Yehuda, no hagin hayinu shahinu yishem takadamitim mizakanim b'larmul adavar. We used to sleep under the bed, no one said a word, everyone was fine. So Omer Reb Shimon Ma'is b'Tavi Avdai, the story about Tevi, the servant Shel Rabbi Gamliel, the famous servant of Tevi, who was considered to be a kosher, a great man. We saw in the Gemara Brachos already a little bit about him, how Rabbi Gamliel treated him differently under certain circumstances, Makabel Tachanunin, etc. Shayoshan Tachasamita. So the slave was sleeping under the bed. Look at my servant, Shehu Talmud Chacham. He knows that an Eved does not have to sleep in a sukkah, does not have to be in a sukkah. So therefore he's showing that I am allowed to sleep under this bed, but no one else. So I'm allowed to be under this bed because I don't have to be in a sukkah to begin with. The question is, why was he there? So he was there obviously to be Mishamish Rabbi Gamliel. But this shows how he's a Talmud Chacham, as we saw already in numerous places already in this Masechta, how the illustration of points were made by making a sukkah in a very interesting manner, which may have been questionable, to be able to be more halacha. As we learned, someone who sleeps under a bed has not fulfilled his obligation of sitting in a sukkah, or sleeping in a sukkah. The question is, what's the problem? If below, from the floor to the bed is less than 10 tefachim, as we mentioned before, that Daf Yud, that shouldn't be an issue. So Targum Shmuel will be Sarah. When talking about a bed which is more than 10 tefachim, which is mashma, according to all shittas. And this is question 2. Hayoshin tafsamit b'sukkah him yotzidei chavasai. So if it's less than 10 tefachim from the ground, so it's very, very low, then everyone holds it's okay. That doesn't count as an oil. It has to be at least 10 tefachim. 10 tefachim, that's where we have the machlokas in our Mishnah between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. We're going to stop there. Let's see TA 30. So what's the whole problem? Why would we say what type of mat could you not use, even if it was not done for the purpose of shchiva? And the answer is, if it has, as the Gemara says, the Islay Gedanfa, that has this rim, so therefore it's Makabel Tumah. Okay. That was TA. TB1. Now, Kol hachol tzais mitam and tami meis. The Reb Dais v'chamim medras or also medras. So, but my plea Reb Dais v'chamim betumas medras or betumas meis. So we didn't really talk about this. It's a great question. What exactly is this argument? Whether or not there is also a din of tumas medras. Everyone holds this tami meis. So the answer is they argue again betumas medras. The whole machlok is dafka by tumas medras. But my pligi Reb Dais v'chachamim betumas medras. Tumas Meis. So the answer is by Tumas Meis. Tumas Meis. So Kasha, the Rabdaisa, Oimer Misachem, Machsolos, Alma in Mekabelos Tuma. So how do you say over here is Mekabelos Tuma? So it's the same answer we said before. Hacha the Ispe Gadanfa, Zumasach. Shemasachem ba, Leisa the Gadanfa. If it doesn't have a rim, then you can use it for Schach. Adka.